huge audience. This is so fantastic. I've known Lucienne Giganti for several years, and I know what a powerful force for change she is. And congratulations on your 4th year here. I'm going to speak to you about the financial empowerment of women and why we at Golden Seed started investing in women. So I am going to cover the investing facts for you. As a quick introduction, my firm Golden Seeds has invested $110 million into women-led startups, and we are widely recognized as the prime mover in the movement to invest in women entrepreneurs. First, I want to connect some dots for you as to where we stand in the US. We started investing in women as our solution to the problems we were seeing in the workforce. We started Golden Seeds after working on Wall Street. When we started Golden Seeds as an angel investing group in 2005, women CEOs held 1.8% of public company CEO slots. Today, women hold 4.1% of public company CEO slots. In 2005, women had 14.7% of public board seats. Today, it's 22%. And by the way, we acknowledge that for women of color and minorities, these numbers are much worse. So in essence, my generation was the first generation to slam into the glass ceiling. Despite all of our hard work and our dreams, we did not achieve any positions of leadership in business or in any aspects of American society. So we decided that the corporate cultures we experienced were not working for women. In 2005, there was ample data showing that companies with women on boards and women in management were outperforming the market. And that data has only gotten stronger over these years. We felt that we couldn't wait for large corporations to change from the bottom up. Rather, change has to come from the top down. And we concluded that the only way to change the face of leadership was to own companies so that the work cultures can ultimately change. What we were seeing and experiencing has now been documented and captured in recent data by Standard & Poor's that I think may astonish you. Standard & Poor's recently pointed out that the participation rate of working-age women in the United States labor force peaked in 1990. Today, the United States stands at 20th out of 22 developed nations in terms of the female labor participation rate, which now sits at only 57%. If we were to increase, so we are at the bottom of the list. If we were to increase our female labor participation rate to the rates that are more normal for developed nations, S&P estimates that $6 trillion in global stock market valuation could be created in just a decade. This is why it is imperative that we invest in women. We are leaving GDP and economic growth behind with women on the sidelines. And your economy would similarly benefit by full employment of women. Today, women earn 83% of male wages. And in fact, this week there is more new data out taking a different look at that, concluding that it's much worse than that. But just with the 83%, a woman has to work 44 days more a year to be equal with the man in terms of wages. Interestingly, I found data that in Puerto Rico, college-educated women actually out-earn college-educated men, but high school women, that is great actually, and high school women though earn 13% less than high school men. So every culture has its own issues, and be aware of the data and what's happening to you. The S&P study recounts Pew Research that says that women leave the US labor force due to family leave. And guess what? We are the only developed nation without paid mandatory maternity leave, paternity leave, or any kind of sensible family leave policies. Therefore, our society and our business cultures are forcing women out of the workforce, which is costing us our financial empowerment and our power in society. I'm talking to you about this because policies really matter, and we're not doing a good job. Follow the policies of countries that have high participation rate of women in their labor force. That's who to emulate. So let me explain why we settled on investing in women as a core solution to this. First off, today, women-owned businesses are being formed in America at an extremely rapid rate. Women are starting 1,000 companies a day in America. And after nearly 14 years of investing in women leaders, we continue to be dazzled by what women are building with their skills, their passions, and their educations. Our economy deserves to see what these women can build. They will create jobs, save lives, and grow our economies, all in positive ways. And this movement is global. 17% of companies around the globe today are being led by a woman, and that number is 14% in Latin America. I believe you're on the cusp of a massive movement in women's entrepreneurship here, much as we've seen. This room tells me that. In 2005, we started the first angel group that any company in which we invest was required to have a woman in the C-suite, woman-led. And she has to have appropriate equity for that leadership role. We knew that we women had to show the way by investing our hard-earned savings into women. And there is much to celebrate. When we started, very little angel capital was going to women, and there were virtually no women angel investors. Today, about 25% of angel investors are women, and about 20% of angel capital is going to women-led companies by number of companies. This is great. And I want to say to you that the Golden Seeds model is radically inclusive. We've always allowed men to invest in women leaders with us, but we are about 80% women. So any accredited investor can join us and invest in women leaders. And really, the only companies that we won't invest in are companies that did not put a woman in the C-suite. So why aren't all companies eligible for our consideration when you really think about it? And I am proud that we created the conditions under which angel capital has become possible for women in the United States. And I also would like to say that only 5% of US angels are people of color, and only 2.3% are Latino, so I assume that number would be worse for Latinas. And these are complex matters, but it is very important that you become an angel investor and start backing this movement when it becomes financially possible. While we're having this success in the angel market, though, we have a grim set of data in the venture capital market. Last year, the venture capital market was a $77 billion market, about 3 times larger than the angel capital market. This venture capital is growth engine capital, whereas angel capital is startup capital. Iconic companies like Amazon, Google, Alphabet, all of these, Microsoft, Facebook, were all started with angel capital. But it was their venture capital rounds that propelled their growth. The other thing that those companies all have in common is that they were founded by men. And that is what we are working to change. We want to see women in those ranks. Last year, women-led companies received 2% of venture capital. So you heard me say that angel capital has moved into the 20% range. Venture capital isn't moving. Women receive less money and at lower valuations. Women have virtually no access to venture capital. So now we're expanding the early stage capital for women, but they're not getting the venture. And this is also playing out in Latin America, where women are struggling with venture capital. And we need to fill this funding gap. And let me tell you, this is not just a problem. This is the greatest investing opportunity of our time. People have no idea what women are building. We have invested in Dr. Susan Catalano, who has one of the most promising drugs discovery companies for Alzheimer's. We have invested in Dr. Christina Lampe-Onerud at Cadenza Innovation, who has created a new energy paradigm based on lithium-ion batteries. We have backed Drs. Rosina and Uzma Samadani, who are developing a concussion diagnostic. Those are just 3 of the 150 companies that we have backed. This kind of investing shapes the future and is infinitely fascinating. We do not see the venture capital paradigm changing, and we are calling for a massive movement of women to become angels and men to join us in funding women. We cannot wait for venture capital. We want to see more women entrepreneurs become angel investors. This is not happening yet, and it must. Male entrepreneurs routinely become angel investors. I recently attended a conference and had the good fortune to hear Alex Rodriguez speak. He began investing in real estate very early in his baseball career. He even said that he actually sold a watch to make his first investment. So he was pointing out to the audience that you can start with low amounts, but you have to get into the game. It's in your self-interest. We also want to see women of wealth who are involved in philanthropy to start moving capital into investing in women and start understanding the huge benefits to society by creating this new leadership pipeline of funded women business leaders. And we want more female celebrities to get behind this movement and to help us fund women in healthcare and technology and not just consumer products. There's so much upside here for our societies, for our wallets, for all of us. I hope that I have revealed the vast power that we as people can bring to the force of leadership, the face of leadership in our country, and all the benefits that can accrue. I have so much more I could say, and I want to leave with a few thoughts. First, make sure that your girls are getting equal education in STEM and computer science. Girls are as smart, if not smarter, than boys in math and science. Don't let them be less than 50% in your education. Work with your policies and embrace policies that ensure gender equality. Support your entrepreneurs. Find ways to invest in them, and it doesn't just have to be money. They are going to build the new economies. And pay attention to the policies and ensure that we start having family leave policies for both men and women, and actually requires that the men participate so that we start getting closer to developed nations in terms of the ability for women to stay in the workforce. And lastly, I want to acknowledge that we know that you went through a devastating hurricane and that you are still suffering in certain parts from the effects of this. And please keep our attention focused on that. And as we talk about entrepreneurship, we must acknowledge climate change. One of our companies is very focused on this, Dr. Christina Lampe-Onerud. There will be massive potential for a new energy paradigm, as we must exit fossil fuels. You have a huge opportunity here to be a leader in that. I believe that we as women actually need to come together and save our planet for future generations. I want to thank you for having me with you today. I'm going to be here all day, and I just look forward to meeting as many people as I can. And I just celebrate a conference like this. To see 1,200 people gathered together is so inspiring, and I have already met so many wonderful people. Thank you all so much.